Good morning, everyone. This is Robbie with Pure IT, and I have a couple of guests with me today. Trent, I'll pick on you, and then we'll move over to the Datava folks if everybody wants to give a quick introduction.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Trent Henson. I'm one of the founders of Pure IT. The abridged version is I've been working in IT for about 34 years now, is my chosen profession. And I moved into the credit union world about 7 years ago and never want to look back. I love what we do.
Awesome. Thanks, Trent. And David, how about you?
Yeah, I'm the David Flammer. I'm the CTO of Datava. I'm also co-founder. And you can tell by our last name that I am also the brother of the CEO and co-founder, Gordon.
Sweet. So Gordon, CEO of Datava. Do you want my background, or do you want me to talk a little bit about Datava as well?
How about kill both birds with one stone there for me?
Dynamite. Yep. So I've spent pretty much my whole professional career working with financial institutions. I was with a couple different consulting firms, worked with 3 of the banks in the country, all the way down to 1 or 2 branch credit unions. And they would go in, they do sales training, culture training, operational improvement training. But then I was kind of the hired gun that would come in to try to help them use software they had or go find software to help them achieve these objectives. Did that for 16 years. And during that time kind of was just banging my head against a wall along with my clients, trying to find good software in some key areas that they really needed. And really after finding good things out there, I was talking with David at the same time, who was pursuing and was pretty successful in a research physicist career, doing like projects for DoD and renewable energy labs and those kinds of things. And we think we kind of came on a really good solution on how to be able to meet a lot of these different needs in operations, functional improvement, retail, data management. And so really what we launched at Datava starting in 2016 up until today is what we call like a data activation platform.
All right, perfect. So David, jumping to you for a little bit, what is Datava? Is it data analytics? Is it a dashboarding tool? Is it a reporting tool? Is it a strategic roadmap process to walk folks through? How would you guys kind of frame the business problem and then a little bit of the solution that you guys provide?
Yeah, we do a lot, and the reason for that is Gordon, basically would go to institutions, he would figure out what their pain points are, and then we would strategically figure out an effective way to apply technology to solve those problems. And really, it comes down to 4 key areas: pulling in data from a lot of different sources, curating it, aggregating it, making sure that it's clean. That's a very important part of activating your data. The actual analysis, visualization, being able to do descriptive and predictive analysis on data and those types of things. That's another key piece of what we do. And then on the other side of things, being able to use the data to do things is something that I think that makes us unique. We add, in addition to doing the actual, getting the data all in one place and making it useful to you in terms of understanding what it's doing, we also provide workflow tools so that you can then feed that data into workflows, a CRM, think something like CRM, and then that you can use that data to actually do that. And then that feeds back into the data, of course. And so basically, this type of a feedback loop is extremely effective. And that's a very general description of what we do. But we do target solutions. So if a credit union wants us to basically build out an onboarding tool, which we've done for various credit unions, then we have a module in our system that does that. If you want to track your loan application pipeline, then we'd use these underlying tools that we built to build these more specific tools. And so there are specific tools that can target pain points for credit unions as well. But as a fundamental sort of statement of what we are, we're a framework that activates your data in that way, where you can basically feed it into workflows, you can feed it into data analysis, you can basically give it to top level people. Frontline staff use our reports. We use it for setting goals and incentives for credit unions. So it's a wide range of things that we do for credit unions. But it's been extremely effective, and the gains we've seen from credit unions is pretty encouraging.
Great. Thanks, David. So for those of you that are watching that aren't familiar with Trent spends a number of his man hours in a given year basically hanging out with credit unions, acting as a virtual CIO or CTO, spends a lot of time in a boardroom with executive teams and helping credit unions kind of set roadmap and strategy. And so, Trent, from that perspective, you don't have to get into any specifics, but I know you work with a number of credit unions that have used, are in the process of implementing a Datava solution. Tell me a little bit, kind of from your perspective in that, kind of trusted thought leader for a credit union. What are some typical things you see in those credit unions? What are they trying to accomplish? What strategic problem are they trying to overcome? And kind of walk through maybe some similarities of those credit unions and what they hope to accomplish.
Well, at the end of the day, I think every credit union simply wants to make informed and good business decisions. That's the bottom line. They've tried data warehousing, they've tried data analytics tools, they bought Tableau, they've maybe hired someone or in-house tried to pull all their data together, and they spend such an inordinate amount of time just trying to figure out what to do, and all they want is to make informed and good business decisions. When I came across Datava, I saw that they had built all of those things that the credit unions are trying to do, and I liken it to a bag of Legos. The credit union has the bag of Legos from 20 different sets, different colors and different shapes, and they're trying to assemble something without any directions. Datava provides the same Legos, but they've already built it. And they've used the same color, and it looks nice, and it performs well, and it meets the goal of informed business decisions, good decisions. So many of the credit unions, when I've been in board meetings and I hear the questions from the board to the executive team, I think, wow, we have those answers if you have the data properly curated, properly delivered, and that is what Datava brings to the table right out of the gate. And I'm not going to speak for you guys on the Datava side, but I'm going to guess within 60 to 90 days of start, they start having the tools to make those good, informed business decisions, as opposed to 18 months or longer when they're trying to figure it out on their own.
Perfect. Thanks, Trent. Gordon, coming over to you. Trent is a master at amazing analogies. That was a really good one, Trent. I'm going to have to remember that one. So, Gordon, maybe from your perspective, those credit unions that have that bag of Legos and are kind of looking for what to do with them, how to build it, those instructions. Imagine your smallest credit union, your largest one. What are some of the similarities they have? Are they trying to get to the same data? Like, how much money am I sending out to Capital One in a month via ACH, or am I losing core deposits because of interest rate? Walk us through maybe some similarities between a small and a big credit union, and then maybe some differences there.
Yeah, so I mean, philosophically, it's the same problem for every institution of every size, right? So they all are saying, I've got data, it's broken down between a bunch of, you look at their vendor map, they've got an LOS over here, they've got their member survey platform over here, they're using different online banking, and each one of these things have these critical, useful pieces of information. And the question is how do you curate it into one central, clear story of what your members are doing, what your employees are doing, what the credit union is doing, and how to get all of those aligned so that you're kind of moving in the same direction. As far as the small versus the large, I would say it really breaks down to three categories. Large institutions have some of these pieces. They've got maybe a little bit of a Lego set built over here and a little bit of a Lego set built over here already. And they really effectively just need to have someone that can fill in some gaps so that everything's talking to each other effectively. And that's one of the really unique things about what we did is, from my experience working from very small, very large, if you already have some of these pieces solved, we really will just come in and fill in those individual little gaps. So I would say probably the biggest resonance we get from very large institutions where they solved it effectively is goals are generally still done very manually. A critical piece within an organization of your frontline staff. What are they doing? How effective are they? How are you enabling them and monitoring and managing them? That's where we really have found a lot of resonance filling in. Very small institutions, honestly, they just need data in a presentable, understandable way for their executive team. So they know simple questions like, how many members do we even have? Right? Like, what are our branches even doing? What is a general overview picture of our members? And then the middle ground, that middle category, They have specific use cases where they want to go start achieving things with onboarding, with referral programs, with deploying an actual member 360 view to their call centers so that they can expedite those interactions in a very consultative kind of concierge experience. And our platform, all three of those needs. And I really like what Trent said is we're really focused on getting wins quickly. We're focused on finding the key areas of the greatest need, greatest prioritization to help the organization achieve its goals. And those are what we attack first. Often we can have a year or a 2-year roadmap of continually deploying different kinds of solutions to different areas. But we really want to get you quick wins in, sometimes even as little as even 30 days, but usually it's about 60 to 90 days.
Okay. David, switching gears to you a little bit, back on the technology side, I heard a few keywords in there that I would love to know more about. So are you guys on-prem, natively in AWS, natively in Azure? How does your technology get deployed like that?
Yeah, we've tried to be very flexible in this respect. We understand that people have different security postures and different cultures that they're trying to move toward. A lot of people are trying to move toward cloud. A lot of people, because of security or what have you, prefer on-prem. We support all of those options. So we have clients on Azure, we have clients on AWS, which is our default. If you're going cloud-based, we have on-prem. If people have an appetite, for that, and so that all is something we've tried to make these virtual application servers very portable, and so we basically are what you want in terms of how you want to deploy.
So are you running natively in AWS with some type of containerization or Kubernetes, or how do you plug and play between clouds or on-prem?
Yeah, that's right. So basically everything is essentially using containers, so that you can basically drop into an ISO or an image that basically goes into on-prem or AWS or anywhere else really. So okay. It's very reproducible across multiple environments.
Perfect. And I heard data visualization. Are you guys doing that with an in-house tool or Power BI or Tableau, or how do you guys present the data?
Yeah, we have, for various reasons, done pretty much everything in-house. And you can still use those external tools if you want to. So we provide database connections just like everybody else, so that if you want to use Tableau or if you want to use Power BI, and people have appetites, people have their training in some of these tools, and so it's their tool of choice. And so for teams like that, where they're like, we're a Power BI shop, like, no problem. You can connect to the data stores that we create, and you can create Power BI dashboards or what have you, or do analysis in any of those tools. But we do have them in-house as well, so you don't have to. And there's some benefit to that, of course. I mean, you don't have extra licensing burden, because basically with our one license, you get a lot of effective visualization analysis tools just built in.
Gotcha. What are the two easiest to work with data sources for you guys? Sorry, Gordon, I'll come back in just a second. We'll wrap up with David here, but what are the two easiest data sources that you guys touch? Is it a specific core? Is it something out of an online banking application? What have you guys found to be really easy to work with?
Yeah, in terms of core systems, we have a really good relationship with Scimitar, Correlation, other core systems, Prodigy. We have a really good relationship, and we continue to grow that. So in terms of pulling in core data, we have a very good sort of pipeline to get the core information, get that into a standard schema, and there's some real benefit to that. And this is something that we've briefly talked about with Pure IT, actually, is because we integrate with different core systems and put everything into a standard schema. Things like mergers, where you're pulling information from different core systems, can be facilitated. Things like core transitions, if you're actually going to transition from one core system to another, we can basically help facilitate that in terms of creating some data continuity. Different loan origination systems, really it is core and a loan origination, and then digital banking are like the three pillars of most data that you get. And so we have good relationships across other vendors in the area of loan origination systems. MeridianLink is a good example there, where we have it's really just a question of getting the experience with the data and understanding sort of what is there, and then sort of making sure that it can get into the standard schema. And so and we're just constantly increasing that library of integrations, essentially.
Great. And Gordon, sorry to cut you off there earlier. Go ahead and share away with the thought that you had there.
Well, so the one thing is David doesn't really toot his own horn, so I'd like to toot it for him. What he's done on the visualization really is key to what we've seen as success with our system and for our clients, where when our BI tool, when you're leveraging it, you can effectively understand your data in key areas in the actual dashboard where you're viewing it. But David, anytime he's dealing with a metric using our system, you can also instantaneously understand how it's rolling through the organization. You can understand it historically, and you can drill down to the underlying data that are informing it for auditing purposes and activation purposes. And so we have a really unique BI tool that really makes sure you're able to not just understand a metric on a screen, right? Like looking at some little trend line, you really can start interacting with it and make it valuable to the organization.
Well, and I will say that also just we're very problem focused. You know, a lot of sort of how are we going to build a data warehouse type projects is like, okay, well, let's spend, you know, as Trent was saying, let's spend 18 months, 2 years putting all the data in one place, and then we'll get an analytics team on and we'll have them get some analytics. And then when it comes to the question of, okay, how are we going to get this to branch managers? How are we going to get this to our staff? They're like, oh, yeah. and we start with that first. We say, you know, your business units, what do they need? What are they actually trying to do? And that deployment and actually getting it into the hands of the people who are going to use it is first class, in the sense that we ask that question first, and then we work backwards from that and say, okay, well, what, you know, visualizations do we need, and then what data do we need to inform that? And because we're very targeted in that respect, that's what enables those quick wins. To basically get you dashboards into the hands of your branch managers or your senior staff within, you know, 60 to 90 days, that type of a thing.
Perfect. Trent, follow-up question for you. When you have a credit union, you know, temporarily agnostic from Datava here, but when you have a credit union that comes to you and says, hey, we need dashboard reporting for XYZ, or I want to do a data warehouse project, and they maybe don't actually know what that means. What are like some critical things that you hear your credit unions ask for that you try to provide them guidance on when they're starting to go down a data analytics journey like this?
Well, the most critical thing, I think, is having a single pane of glass that is your single source of truth, and understanding what that means. Everyone thinks they have that, so we need to kind of dig into that a little bit and make sure they understand what that really means and what business problems are you trying to solve. We're not just going into data for the sake of data because it's really cool, and it is really cool, but it's really to solve business problems. So I hear things about, well, you mentioned earlier, interest rates versus savings accounts opening, people that are doing, credit unions that are doing indirect. How profitable am I with indirect? Does it make sense for me to stay in indirect? Is my loan origination system doing everything that I think it should be doing? And are my members happy? And probably the big one right now is, how do I provide different solutions for different age groups? Because I can tell you, one of my 21-year-old daughter, for example, everything has to be on the phone in front of her face all the time, quick and easy. But my grandfather, who just turned 95, he's very, very old school, and credit unions have different age groups, and we need data to delineate the types of methodologies we use to help each age group.
Yeah. Great thought there, Trent. What, from your perspective, I know you've stepped into credit unions that have had failed data analytics projects and credit unions that have had successful ones. You know, separate from vendor discussions and tool usage, what are some commonalities that you see between a failed data analytics project and a successful one?
Probably overcomplicating the dashboard. You put everything in one place. The data team, very good team, but they don't have the business view. So they build this really cool dashboard that has 75 different things on it. And then someone on the business looks at it and their eyes cross because they have no idea how to interact with this. So it is really answering that business problem in a clear and concise method that is consistent from problem to problem, so that now the business, the executive team, even the board, can come in and understand what they're seeing.
Great. All right. Well, Gordon, David, thank you guys for your time. Trent as well. I appreciate everybody's time and conversation here, and I'm sure we'll have more to follow. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.